The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that makes your heart race because you know something life-changing is about to happen. Cameras were ready, but this was not about fame anymore. This was about a family on the edge, a father losing control, a mother fighting quietly, and children finally being heard. What happened next did not just change custody, it exposed the truth behind the image, and once the first words were spoken, there was no turning back. The second the courtroom doors opened, the atmosphere shifted in a way that could be felt before it could be understood, as if everyone present instinctively knew that what was about to unfold would permanently change the story of a family the world thought it already knew. Cameras were ready, but no one dared breathe too loudly because this moment was heavier than spectacle. It was about truth, control, and the quiet damage that had lived behind closed doors for years. Cody Brown, once seen as confident, commanding, and untouchable, entered the room looking restrained, smaller than the image he had carried for so long. His shoulders were tense, his eyes darted, not with authority but with uncertainty, as though he understood that this space did not respond to performance. Across from him sat Christine, steady, grounded, her posture calm but unshakable. Her attention never left her children because this was never about winning headlines, it was about protecting them. The judge entered and the room fell into a silence so deep it felt intentional, as if even the walls were waiting. Christine's lawyer began speaking, not loudly, not emotionally, but with precision, outlining a life built on consistency, routine, care, and presence. She spoke of mornings, evenings, schoolwork, comfort after long days, the invisible labor that does not make good television but shapes childhoods. Cody's team responded with carefully prepared material, schedules, photos, public moments designed to demonstrate involvement. But something was missing because what they offered felt episodic, while Christine's story felt continuous. Witnesses followed, people who had seen the family without scripts or lights. They spoke of Christine as the constant, the one who stayed when things became hard, the one who listened, the one who absorbed chaos so her children did not have to. The contrast became unavoidable because each voice added weight to a pattern rather than an isolated claim. Then came the moment no one could prepare for. The children were asked to speak, not for drama, not for impact, but because their experiences mattered. The first child spoke quietly, describing confusion, raised voices, uncertainty, and a longing for calm. Another followed, explaining how they learned to stay small to avoid conflict, how they loved both parents but felt safest with their mother. Their words were simple, but they cut through everything because they were unfiltered. Christine's eyes filled, but she remained composed because she knew this was their moment. Cody stared down, unable to meet their gaze, because what they said could not be reframed or redirected. As the judge listened, taking notes, leaning forward, the energy in the room transformed from confrontation to clarity. This was no longer about perception or control, it was about reality. And just as that realization settled, the story deepened, because this was only the beginning. As the hearing moved deeper into its most critical phase, the tension did not explode. It sharpened, becoming quieter, heavier, more focused, because everyone now understood that this was no longer a battle of personalities, but a reckoning of patterns. Christine Lawyer continued methodically connecting the dots between testimony records and lived experience, showing how stability is not created in grand gestures, but in repetition, showing up every day, remembering details, being emotionally available when no one else is watching. Experts were called not to accuse, but to explain how children process inconsistency, how uncertainty quietly shapes fear, and how routine becomes safety over time. Their words reinforced what the children had already expressed in their own way. Cody was then questioned about daily life, not moments caught on camera, but the ordinary rhythms that define parenting. Meals, homework, bedtime conversations, emotional check-ins. His answers slowed, hesitated, shifted, lacking the natural certainty that comes from lived repetition. The contrast was unmistakable. Christine's records told a story of presence, appointments, school involvement, communication notes, reminders, small but constant proof of care. Cody's intentions were spoken sincerely, but intention without follow-through echoed hollow in a room now trained to recognize substance over surface. Witnesses who knew the family privately spoke again, describing long nights when Christine carried the emotional weight alone, while Cody's attention was divided, pulled by responsibilities, ambitions, and public image. None of this was presented with anger. It was presented with clarity, and that made it impossible to dismiss. The children were allowed to speak briefly once more, and this time their voices were steadier, not because the pain was gone, but because being heard had given them strength. They spoke about wanting predictability, about knowing where they would be each night, about feeling supported consistently, not occasionally. Their words looped the entire story back to its core, because from the first moment to the last, the message never changed. Safety, presence, and emotional reliability matter more than appearance. The judge summarized carefully, acknowledging love on both sides, but emphasizing responsibility, consistency, and impact. When the final decision was spoken, granting Christine custody, the room did not erupt, it exhaled. Christine held her children not in triumph, but in reassurance, while Cody remained seated, absorbing the reality that authority, image, and intention could not replace presence. The story closed, not with celebration, but with a shift, a turning point where truth had finally been allowed to stand on its own, and in that quiet resolution, the real beginning for healing had finally been set in motion. After the decision, the courtroom did not immediately empty because people needed a moment to understand what had just happened. The silence that followed was not awkward, it was reflective, as if everyone present knew they had witnessed something far bigger than a legal ruling. Christine remained seated for a few seconds, holding her children close, letting them feel the safety they had asked for over and over again throughout the hearing, the kind of safety that comes from knowing someone will not leave. Cody stayed still, his expression unreadable, not angry, not explosive, but hollow, because the structure he had relied on for years had finally collapsed without drama or spectacle. Outside, reporters waited, ready to frame the moment as a headline, but inside, the truth had already landed, and it did not need exaggeration. As the family slowly stood and prepared to leave, the judge reminded everyone that the ruling was not about punishment or blame, but about responsibility and well-being. Those words lingered because they reframed everything that had been said before. Christine walked out with her children, surrounded by quiet support, not cheering, not celebration, just relief. The kids clung to her hands and jacket, grounding themselves in something real after months of uncertainty. For them, this was not an ending, it was a beginning, one filled with the promise of routine, calm mornings, predictable evenings, and the freedom to simply be children again. Cody exited separately, his steps slower, his shoulders heavier as the weight of accountability settled in. Public attention followed him, but it no longer fed the image he once controlled because the narrative had shifted permanently. Online reactions poured in, not fueled by outrage, but by reflection. Viewers talked about the importance of listening to children, about how fame can blur responsibility, and how parenting is measured not in moments, but in presence. Experts weighed in, explaining why the case resonated so deeply because it exposed the quiet realities that often stay hidden behind curated images. Christine did not give long interviews. She did not speak in absolutes. She focused only on gratitude and forward movement, emphasizing healing, growth, and stability. She made it clear this was not about erasing a parent, but about centering the needs of children. And that restraint strengthened her credibility even further. In the days that followed, routines began to form. Lunches packed, homework schedules planned, bedtime stories returned. Simple acts that carried enormous meaning. The children adjusted slowly, learning that peace could exist without tension, that consistency could be trusted. Meanwhile, Cody faced a different adjustment, one that required reflection rather than defense. Without the ability to direct the story, he was left with the truth of his choices and the opportunity to rebuild trust over time, not through statements but through sustained effort. The case continued to echo across conversations because it challenged assumptions about authority and love, reminding audiences that visibility does not equal involvement, and that leadership within a family is earned through care, not control. In the end, what stayed with people was not the ruling itself, but the process, the bravery of children speaking honestly, the strength of a parent choosing stability over image, and the quiet power of truth spoken without anger. The story did not end with a gavel strike. It carried forward into daily life, shaping futures, altering perspectives, and leaving behind a lasting reminder that when children are finally heard, everything changes.